we have felt sorry, great sorrow for many who have not had their services restored, repaired, and operating again. We thank you even for those who are from other countries, other communities, even for long distances, who have come and have assisted us at this time. We praise thy name. We thank you that we live in this kind of a community and that we have good neighbors and good friends. We pray, dear Heavenly Father, also to remember those who are less fortunate in this time of economic difficulties which seem to be rising about us. That we, oh Lord, feel the need to wonder what often about those who are less fortunate, in need, and yet even too proud to speak of it. So we thank you for all good things, knowing that you do nothing except it be for the welfare of the human family. And this we ask in Jesus' name, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Alex. Consent agenda, Donna?
To approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 8th, 2008, and approve appropriation ordinance 123107 in the amount of $93,847.29, and approve appropriation ordinance 010808 in the amount of $6,461.66, and to approve the annual tree board allocation of $500.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thanks, Tom. Is there any citizen comments this evening?
Had a few citizens that were concerned about the number of sticks that were dropping in the street. They're afraid they're gonna find their way to the storm sewer, and they're gonna be a big problem, they said.
That's
And
something
it's
that's,
possible.
you know, we had limbs and stuff out on the street to begin with, and we're not the only ones hauling, and it's just one of those things. If we see we lose part of a load or something, we pick it up. I mean, it's just, it's gonna be a real problem this spring when we get to sweeping. We're probably gonna have to go around and do some hand cleaning, you know, before we can get the sweeper out, because it'll just wreak havoc on it, so. It's part of the cleanup.
Yeah, at the same time, I had several people say they appreciated the quickness in which they picked them up, because I think they've been surprised it's been cleaned up as quickly as it has been. And I know that's been because of, you know, you guys putting in extra work.
We have finished on the first pass through town. We'll be starting back over again. If you're curious, we've hauled 266 loads so far.
Oh my gosh.
And what was your cutoff date, Mel?
Well, we actually put something in the paper that came out this week, and the 28th is actually the official start on the last pass, but we may get started on a little bit sooner, and we'll come back over any place we, you know, went ahead on. But FEMA wanted the cutoff date, and that's what we established.
Okay, is there any more citizen comments this evening? Thank you. Administration, John?
You had asked for a review of the suggestions that the auditors had given us on the 2006 audit and where we were on those things. I did make copies for you to have reference on. The first one, the segregation of duties, which is on the very first page. This is something that they have every year, and it explains right here that because of there only being 3 people in the office, that sometimes it's difficult to do that. I visited with Vicki Dryland today again about any additional reports and stuff that I can give to you guys so that you can have a better hold on the financials. And we're trying to come up with the right report that isn't so cumbersome that it takes you hours to go through, but still gives you enough information. So I'm kind of researching that at this point so that you have something in addition to what we normally give you, which is the fund totals. On the next, okay,
I
sorry.
was just thinking, how many of those duties, like when people are gone, somebody else has to actually fill in?
We do. We try to, we cross-train as much as we can. Right now, there's two of us still learning the positions that we're in. However, you know, we still wait the counter, we still, the question, the biggest thing that they've said in the past is that whomever takes the bills, the payment, shouldn't be the one that actually is doing the deposit or entering them into the system. And we all take payments, you know. Front desk is the one who is the primary person who would handle the cash and so forth. However, it would be almost impossible unless somebody once a day came in and did just that and left, you know. So we do try to cover each other for sure, as far as that front desk and the utilities. As far as payroll and accounts payable, of course I could do that if Vicki was unable to. The girls do a really good job of taking information and doing what they can for my position, or, you know, just stating that I'll be back at a certain time, but most of the time, things are pretty well covered. On the next page, the property and equipment. Mel, is there anything that you really, that and the purchase orders doesn't have much to do with our office?
The purchase orders we talked about before, you know, the way they have it stated in here, if someone wanted to buy something, they'd have to go to the department head, and then they'd have to come to me, and, I mean, for, you know, a can of spray paint or 2x4 or something like that, we've kind of felt it's impractical now. On larger items, the guys, you know, get with me before they'll buy it, but, you know, it's just, unless we were to put a limit on, you know, something where they'd have to go to the department heads, it's really never been a problem. I understand, and they've mentioned they have to recommend this irregardless, but in our situation, how practical it is, I don't, it'd be kind of a hindrance in a way.
Okay, on the utility billing and accounts receivable, on number 1, where they recommend that the cash receipts be recorded in a pre-numbered duplicate cash receipt book, we have implemented that starting at the beginning of this year. Number 2, we recommend that an accounts receivable aging report be given to the council on a monthly basis. That is to come. Starting tonight, you'll get your first look at that, and then we'll continue to do that. And number 3, we recommend that the city take advantage of the state set-off program and submit delinquent accounts. Again, you'll see that that's happening when we review the accounts tonight.
Could you explain
What the set-off program is?
Yes.
What that is because we're a governing body, we can submit utility accounts as well as tickets that haven't been paid to municipal court. Those two in particular are what our city could do, is submit that to the state, and they try to match funds up that would be due back to them through, you know, the income tax returns and so forth. So if they get a
They
check,
try to collect,
They
Yes.
can help us, but-
yeah,
so they
they get a little percentage of it, but we can
they don't
direct
get a
that.
discount on our sales tax or anything to match
No,
those, so.
no.
Okay.
But they, you know, it is something, not a lot of people get a lot back for state, but once it's on, it stays on, so I don't need to resubmit that each year. Now, if there's been a bankruptcy or something, you cannot submit that.
Do they let you know?
If,
I mean, if they write you a check
Yeah,
For
when
the
they
year,
send
do
a
they
check,
tell you who they,
when they send a check, they tell us what accounts it's for, and they have the social security number and the person's name.
so then we can subtract that from what the person owes us.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Number 4, we recommended the city council approve all utility accounts receivable write-offs. Yes, I would bring you, and I do have a proposal for that tonight as well. Number 5, the level pay amounts are calculated correctly, and this is something that I called and talked to our software people about. They are still working on that. It is not considering the outstanding amount when it calculates the average due. Number 6, they recommend that this aging report be printed December 31st so that the auditors can have it, and we do have that printed right now. Number 7, we recommend that the city enforce the current collection policy. I would like to discuss this a little later about a couple of exceptions. Otherwise, we are doing that. Number 8, again, employee delinquent accounts have been put on either payment agreement or have been brought up to date. Inventory, anything that you have now on the inventory?
It's, come up before the shop, it's, notably in the summertime, it's so hot, we really can't keep the doors shut or locked. We have to lock them, but we'd have to keep the door shut, it'd be so hot, you really couldn't work in there. And, in the past, we've talked about tool use and everything, so unless you want to adopt a policy on that, we're pretty much still there.
On the disaster recovery, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, but what about the ammunition?
It has actually been taken care of.
That's been taken?
Yes. And what actually happened there, the officer that left had the key in his pocket. So when it was opened up, then they needed a new lock. So that's been taken care of. The disaster recovery plan, I talked with Jason earlier this month, and he said it would be mid-February, but they'll actually probably put 2 different plans together, one more preliminary that would make the state requirements, and then the second one to follow right away that would be more specific to us. Get down to the more detailed plan.
So if there's any changes to be made, can we make a change?
Oh,
Or what the
we will
city
be a
feels-
part of,
Okay.
the county will have theirs, and there's, they have to list certain contact people and all that, so it will be specific to the city, but it would be in conjunction with the county plan.
Yeah.
Each city would be the same way, if I understand that correctly.
But we don't have actually anyone inputting or,
Well, when it's time,
oh,
Yes.
okay.
When it comes to the
I
council.
was gonna say, I have
Right.
someone from here would have some input on it.
I think you'll probably have a couple of meetings that people can attend. The journal entries, they're recommending that we give you guys a copy of the journal entries monthly, as well as having a better documentation for them. Again, I visited with Vicki Dryland today about that on the specifics of what exactly she would expect to see with that, so that should be implemented right away. Safeguarding computer systems and files. We recommend limiting user access to the computer accounting modules necessary for each particular job function. In our office, there would be only one module that one person would not necessarily need to use. And I visited it again with Vicki today and said, is it really necessary for us to all have access codes or passwords to get into each individual module? Because of one module that one person wouldn't need to get into. For two reasons. One, it's just kind of cumbersome getting in and out because we open up several at a time. But the other is, a lot of times I may use somebody else's computer, you know, or vice versa. If one's down or one office is being used by somebody else, we kind of switch back and forth. She recommended that we still do that, so that will be something that we'll go ahead and do. I will have to find out exactly how we have to do that, but,
I was gonna say, there would always be a lot of who's been in there. I think that would be a good idea. I realize it's a lot of work, but.
and it's probably not a lot of work, it's just another step, and so, yeah. We'll go by her recommendation. And we already back up the computer files onto a safe storage. It's a removable hard drive. We do it daily, and I take a different one home each week, at the end of the week, or sometime during the week. I change those out. It is in a safe in my basement, in a waterproof, fireproof safe. So I guess if something happens to the city and it doesn't happen to my house, then we can have those files. Again, the confidential, the recommended passwords being kept confidential and changed annually. That's implemented. The fraud risk management program. I wasn't real sure what Vicki was going for on this, and she clarified today that it's just basically that we need to try to identify where the weaknesses may be, which we already have, and just being extra watchful in those areas and making sure that we document anything that we might see different. The cash, they recommend that we write off the return checks that have been outstanding for some time, which is in my recommendation as well tonight. The state sales tax fund, they want us to change that, close that out into the water and light fund. That has been done. The trash fund, you know, was not, the expenditures were not, they were exceeding the revenues. So they suggested that we revisit the rate and see if we should maybe implement a new rate. This actually isn't necessary. By the way that we've done things in '07, we reallocated part of Donna's salary, so it's not so much of it coming out of there, as well as if accounts receivable is lower, then those monies go back in, and so this fund is not out of balance at all, and it's held its own. So I don't really feel like, unless you guys see some other reason, we can watch this and maybe not have to raise that for our benefits there. Diversion, I'm sorry.
Part of her salary is allocated to that. What?
It's 5%.
5%.
And
Is
what's
that the new allocation?
Yes.
Before it was about 25, wasn't
At one time it was like 15, and then they moved it to 10. You know, and as of this audit, it was 10%. But in '07, we had changed it to 5, which is pretty good. I mean, basically what she does with that is bill it and then enter it into the computer when it's collected. Vicki writes one check a month, so I think it's pretty fair. Any other questions on that? Okay, on the diversion fund, it was recommended that checking be moved to an interest-bearing account, which was done actually this morning. We recommend that the account be included in the city funds and accounted for as such. So I have built a new fund, and those monies will show in there, and the bank account and its balance will show on your balance sheet as well.
What is the average balance?
Well, I mean, it's just grows most of the time because it has not been used for anything for some time. Probably the last thing you guys used it for was its cameras, right?
it? I think so.
So
What do you think the balance is?
right now, about 2,900.
29.
It doesn't grow fast, you know, it's just,
We're not gonna get a lot of
No.
interest
No.
out of
No, but it might as well be, I mean,
Yeah, I might as well.
the related party questionnaires, I just handed out to you today, so that takes care of that. Insurance, recommended that we notify the insurance company right away when we get a new asset, and we have done that. The credit card and other charges in credit, we recommend the city implement a policy that forbids employees from charging personal items on city accounts. This is not really an issue, but I'm wondering if just putting that into our employee manual that they would have to sign would do that. I think when I talked to Vicki, she thought that would definitely handle all that. However, that we probably should go over that with our employees at this time so that they understand, since they've already signed an employee manual, or we could have them redo that.
How many credit cards does the city have?
The only credit cards that we actually have is, there's a couple of vendor cards. We don't have any open credit cards.
Okay, but then we have a charge account, like at other place, I mean,
Open charge?
we have like, yeah,
Well, like Dylan's, they have a
Dylan's,
charge, you know, we have to do it that way. What's it, Orchard? No.
We don't have it now.
Well, we have an open account, but we don't need a card.
You guys sign the tickets. We have one,
Porcelains.
Northern Tool and Hydraulic is a customer card that when we order something, they want it, it's,
you want a number off of it.
yes. And it's actually, since I've ordered stuff there, they made it out to me. I didn't even ask for it, but they sent it. I talked it over with the mayor and it's in the safe. So whenever we have to order something from them or wood, we would get it out and have to use that number, so.
So we actually do not have a
We
credit
do
card.
not have any open credit cards. And that takes care of the items on here. If there's anything else?
I have a question. In reviewing all of the journal entries, how many journal entries would you have in a month? I would expect several thousand.
Not in a month. No, and she's talking about general journal entries, not anything entered into the ledger, general ledger. Our regular general ledger work is documented and easily tracked. And if there was anything, and this is on the fraud line, if there was anything like moving monies from one fund to another, just to be moving them that might look suspicious or something, you know. So that's why they want you to review those and see the documentation of that.
So a journal entry isn't money that goes to any account. It's just
No.
certain ones?
It doesn't really even affect cash on hand. It affects what is paid out of what funds, you know,
Just
and
the
certain
total?
things, pardon me?
Like the total at the end of the
No,
month?
say, an example of if, and I clarified this with Vicki too, sometimes we're gonna make mistakes in posting, you know, what it was actually, posted to the line item, and so we're just gonna have to do a correction. But to show good documentation on that, I need to go back to the actual invoice, put it with that so you can see that it legitimately goes to that new line item. Okay, and we probably, besides standard entries, which is moving funds to our bond reserve and throughout the year instead of one big thing at the end of the year, since we get our payments from the state throughout the year, we can just move that monthly. So those are called standard entries. And those go in the journal entries. And then other than that, it's usually correcting entries, or if we've had a major happening with the computer system that didn't log it right and we're gonna have to make an entry to actually do something, then of course you'd have to do documentation there too. That doesn't happen very often, but it has happened.
So the transactions that are the small ones that happen all the time, they're not entered in a journal, it's some other thing you call it, the general ledger?
Well, it would be into like accounts payable or our utility billing or payroll. Those all go into the budgetary accounting, you know, from the other places. And we do have reports that are printed, and then those totals go into the general ledger. I would be glad to show you how the system works, Jim, if you'd like to come in
If we're
sometime.
gonna get one, we'll,
What you're gonna get is gonna be a very small part of it, and there'll probably be, you know, maybe 4 or 5 pages to look at, and they're gonna not be a lot to see. My idea is if we're doing a clean set of books, you shouldn't need too many of those, but once in a while they come up and they're usually correcting entries. Any other questions?
Did you want to call for an executive session? Do you want to- on those?
Yeah, it's when we raise the accounts.
Would the council like to review accounts this evening?
How long?
Well, it depends on how many questions you got.
You could do 10 and then
Yeah,
see how detailed you want to get.
what do you think, Kevin?
Well, I'd reserve at least 20 minutes, and then very long.
Yeah, I'd say we need 20 minutes.
Okay. So I have a motion.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for 20 minutes.
And who would you like to know? For-
What's that gonna be under, Don?
Probably attorney-client, I would imagine.
Attorney Clark.
Council, mayor, clerk,
Attorney.
and attorney.
Mayor, clerk, council, Don,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
Don.
you have to have me in
Yeah.
there.
Josh would say. Do I have a second?
Second.
For 20 minutes,
Who seconded that?
Kevin, got an executive session for 20 minutes to review accounts.
we didn't vote.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Europeans and the-
Hey, I got it right here.
Call the council meeting back to order. Could I have another motion, please?
I'll move for another 20 minutes.
Okay,
Now to do 15.
20 minutes for council, attorney, mayor, clerk.
Same reason.
Yep.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
Can't just do one of those what he said things.
Served out the car.
Call the meeting back to order. Let's see, Tom, could I have a motion?
I would move that we allow John to turn our accounts that she's having trouble collecting over to a collection agency for collection.
Second.
Is there any more discussion? All those in,
Is
yes.
that clear enough?
Should we make that terminated accounts? That's what you were looking at?
That's what it is.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, Johnny, is there anything else?
We'll make a motion for the proposed write-offs. Do we not have to do that by motion?
Yeah, the ones that are either deceased or
Yeah.
declared bankruptcy.
I would move that we allow John to write off the accounts that have either filed bankruptcy or deceased.
December
Right.
07.
Yeah.
You can have
All
the
those
data.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
Okay. Also, I believe I handed these out, yeah. The ordinance for the annexation, this is an amended ordinance. It would be ordinance number 970 if you,
Move ordinance number 970.
Is there any more discussion?
This has been surveyed, and this is the legal description of the exact tract to be added to the city by the survey.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Is there any questions for John this evening? Thank you, John. Administration, Mel.
The only thing I had was that, we're needing to purchase some more power poles. We can split a load with the city of Attica, and, we get 15, 35 footers and 8 45 footers, and that comes to $7,093. We need to get this to keep running for you.
What is the price break on these?
Yeah, the 35 footers are $267, and the 45 foot are $386, and those are a class 4 pole.
I make a motion that we allow, Mel to go ahead and purchase the load of poles with the city of Attica.
Second.
$7,093.
Is there any more discussion?
Bill, how many poles did we have broke during the ice storm?
I think we have about 8.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Is there
That's
anything
all
else,
I
Mel?
have.
Is there any questions for Mel this evening? Thank you, Mel. Fire department, Leonard's not here this evening.
Police Study didn't have anything.
Okay, police department, Adam.
I got a few things. We incurred some more damage on our patrol car, not the truck, but the actual car. I attended some federal training in Wichita. Would have been the 8th, 9th, and 10th of January. Night of the 9th, I went from Wichita to Hutchinson to meet with Officer Lawfer. On the way back on K-96 at Mount Haven, I had struck a coyote in the car. We're waiting on, we already have the bill, it hasn't been submitted because we're waiting on to get the accident report from the highway patrol to submit to insurance. The total came to $1,147.58, and that was for radiator support, antifreeze, lower hose, AC condenser, assembly, AC condenser, the Freon, and then the labor to fix all. And it has been fixed, so we have it back on patrol. As far as the police department itself goes, everybody knows that Sonny had the surgery, he's doing good. He's able to get around now. The way it's looking right now is he has a solid cast on his leg. He's gonna have to go back to the doctor every 2 weeks to have that cast taken off and a new one put on as they elevate his foot so the tendon and stuff will repair itself properly. Basically why he's gone, it's just me and Aaron. So we're gonna have a lot of on-call time, a lot of that kind of stuff, because we're looking at probably 60 days or better with just the 2 of us. So we hope that it's not gonna be a time of more complaints, because we're not gonna be able to have near the amount of patrol time that we usually have. We're looking at trying to work it to where whatever our scheduled days off would have been, we're gonna try to spend, some amount of time at home, just taking calls from home, because it's just not feasible for us to be out working every single day. So, other than that, I think that's all I have.
Is there any questions for Adam this evening?
Thank you. Legal, Don?
You passed my ordinance, I think that's all I had.
Is there any questions for Don this evening? Thank you, Don. Is there any new business this evening? Old business?
Only home business I had was last week, Don asked for a pay increase. I don't know if we want to discuss that now. Wait or what?
We can discuss it if you want.
We discuss down here, you want executive session, or not?
Yeah. Go to executive session?
Can't.
Okay.
Can't.
Well, you can do non-like personnel. But it's a, if you have an issue regarding things.
I think we ought to discuss that at the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Yes, just,